This is the Good Neighbor Podcast, the place where local businesses and neighbors come together. Here's your host, Jeff Gardner.
Welcome to another episode of the Good Neighbor Podcast. Today we have another good neighbor on, Leigh Recker with Sun Life. Leigh, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, we're looking forward to having this conversation. Know a little bit about Sun Life, but I'm looking to you to enlighten us more and then learn about yourself, of course. So let's get right into the business side of it. What is it you do, Leigh? What is Sun Life?
So I am with Sun Life, and I am a certified financial planner and insurance advisor. So basically, I help people with whether it's planning or they just have a specific insurance need. I can help them with all of that.
Wonderful. And how long have you been doing that for, Leigh?
I've been in the industry for 36 years.
Wow.
I've been with Sun Life for just over 20 years.
20 years. My
Yeah,
goodness.
I know.
What keeps you going in something like that for so long?
I think it's just because I love what I do. I hope that what I do changes people's lives for the better, whether it's just a little tidbit of advice I gave somebody, or maybe, urge them to get some protection in place. And then it turned out to be really needed. And just educating people, helping them make informed decisions. And I really enjoy it. I like what I do. Always told my kids, make sure you do something you love because you're going to be doing it a long time. So,
and it's such a simple piece of advice, but it really is so instrumental to enjoying your life. If you're going to do something for 40, 50, 60 hours a week and you don't enjoy it, that is torturous. So kudos to you for finding something for over 3 decades that you still like. And I love the reason why you like it, impacting and educating people, see if you can change their lives. That's an amazing thing. So I want to ask you, why would somebody need a financial planner?
So
what is the benefit of going there?
Oh, sure. So I find that a lot of people don't seek out a financial planner or a financial advisor because they think you need money or you need to be rich to do it. And it's almost the opposite. I wish I could meet with every kid graduating high school to talk to them ahead of time about how to get a credit rating, how to protect it, how to make sure you start saving early in life, what kinds of protection should you look at. And that's all financial planning is looking at your situation overall. How are you invested? How's your borrowing look? Do you need any protection? Do you have it in place? What does work give you? What does the government give you? And then day-to-day stuff like, have you done a will or things like that? It's really just checking off some boxes and making sure that they feel they're doing everything right. They're on the right path for a successful life and retirement.
So really kind of the foundation to your financial journey essentially is putting that plan in place. So you know the necessary steps, all so that you could reap the benefits down the line and build healthy habits along the way.
Exactly.
So you have a better understanding of how money can work for us. I look at money as a tool. It's neither for good nor for bad. It's however you want to use it. But I think generally speaking, our understanding of money could be better. Right? I think in the schools, the things that we're taught about, I grew up in a banking family. My mother worked in TD for 40 years. So when I had a credit card at a young age, some of my friends were questioning, like, how did you get that? Why would you do that? That's so crazy. You can go into debt. She made me understand better debt. It doesn't have to be a nasty word that a lot of us will be in debt for large portions of our life, but that can help us. Could you imagine getting a house if you had to pay for it all up front? None of us would own homes.
Yeah, I started in the bank. I started with National Trust in Barrie back in the 80s. So that's what got me my start. But yeah, I hear you. People love the industry. Look at your mom, 40 years. Good for her, right?
Yeah, I think it was her only job, to be honest. But it was those little tiny skills that she taught me that made huge differences down the line that didn't require a ton of effort in that moment. It was just these little daily things. So what you're doing is really, if I'm understanding this correctly, is helping people understand what money is, how it can work for us, and taking those daily actions or protection to help safeguard yourself for the future and build the life you want, essentially.
That's right. Yep.
Yeah.
Whether I do the investment for them or they go to their bank, having me do a plan for them doesn't obligate them to do anything with me, as long as they go find somebody they know and trust to get some stuff in place and be okay.
I love it. So really, when you say that plan, it really is kind of like a money recipe, right? It's like a blueprint.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's great. And we're always curious about the why. Humans are very interesting to me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm very curious in human potential, why we do what we do. And there's always a fascinating story somewhere in there.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So what led you to getting into this? Like, what is the story behind you becoming in the financial world?
So it started just my best friend was a teller at National Trust and got me in for an interview. I was 21 and I was hooked. I loved it. I did every job in the bank over the next 13 years. And then we were sold to Scotiabank. So I went on to be financial advisor for a Scotiabank branch. But one of my National Trust managers was with Sun Life and asked me to think about it. And I did go to Sun Life after 18 years in the bank. And although it was a little scary because you're then become self-employed, I love the fact that Sun Life is an awesome company and we're not directed to, make them get this, make them get that. We're just directed to do the best we can for people and give them the best advice possible. And I love that. I love the freedom of just doing what, giving the best advice I can and helping them get there if that's what they want. So,
yeah, what a reason to work every day. What I'm curious about, though, is running your own business is difficult and not for the faint of heart. It's it's a whole litany of skill sets that need to be kind of put all into one soup to make a good business. So you were working within a business before, and then you took the leap to running your own business. What was that? What was that decision like? What made you say, okay, I'm going to go out on my own now?
It was terrifying. It took me a year. At that time, I was a single parent to 2 young children, 11 months and 3 at the time, I believe. And it was really scary because at the bank, of course, all your clients just walk in the front door. And but it was a chance to not just do better for myself and my kids, but be for people what I wanted to be for people. So yeah, it was scary and it was a lot of hard work, and I had to learn about networking. And but I find that if you just do your job with integrity and give people the best advice and not pressure them, you work long and hard enough, and your reputation grows. And so I've been very fortunate that I've been successful at this. But I'm not going to say the first few years, it's not a lot of hard work and effort to, keep going.
Knowing what you know now, if you could go back and do it again, would you have taken that same path to being on your own, or would you stay within the bank?
No, 100% would have taken the same path. Yeah.
I love it. I love it. We talk to entrepreneurs all day, right? As a marketing company, our clients are entrepreneurs, and the people that we bring onto the show, all entrepreneurs. And I don't think one person has answered that and said, yeah, I would go back to being an employee. There's just something about building your own thing, even though you trip and you fall down on your face a lot. It just seems, I don't know. There's this.
It's the freedom.
It's the freedom. It's the I'm so much more capable than I thought. And only through entrepreneurship could I find that. And when you do have so many obstacles, so many little failures along the way, and you reach it, I don't know. It just seems like so much more worth it that you've struggled so much for it. I have found as a common theme between entrepreneurs. So I love that you say that. Immediately, Before I even finished the sentence, 100%, you said. So there's a few fundamental questions that we like to ask on the show. They all have their reasons, but there are certain ones that are more important than the others. Like, what's their story behind you getting involved in this? How do you feel about entrepreneurship? Super important. And the whole point of this show is to really connect with the people that we can impact the most, entertain them to a certain extent, but we want our local audience to know about our local entrepreneurs, how they can help them, and educate them. That's the big part. Knowledge and wisdom can really change the trajectory of our lives. So myths and misconceptions. People out there have information in their head, wherever they got it, that is incorrect. We have these myths, we have these misconceptions about this thing. And if somebody could clarify that with accurate information, now I can make new, much more productive decisions that can increase the quality of my life. So as a financial planner with Sun Life, what are some common myths and misconceptions that you see out there that are really stopping people from reaching out and getting help that can better their lives?
I would have to say, when I came here from the bank, and I had clients, I was given a block of clients to reach out to, and a lot of them were like hesitant. I don't need to see any insurance people and I pondered on that a lot. And it's like, oh, well, insurance people kind of have a bad rap. Like, people think we're going to glom on to them and kind of force them to take something or hound them or harass them. And I hated that they felt that way. And of course, once I did get a client to connect with me and they found out I was harmless and I'm just there to help, then it was never a problem talking to them again. But still, I find that a lot of people out there have they don't want to meet with somebody because then they're afraid, oh, they're gonna be at my front doorstep. And I am sure in any commissioned environment there are aggressive salespeople. So I'm not discounting that, but I have learned after this many years and looking at the other good advisors around me that sometimes what people think is maybe harassment or somebody just trying to make a sale is actually a passion or a fear for this person, right? You meet a client with 2 young kids and a self-employed husband, and they don't work. What if something happened to their husband? And you just want to tell them, you can get $500,000 in life insurance for $25 a month. I mean, we're not out there. That's not us out there trying to make a big sale. It's like, I want your family to be okay. And I'm not here to pressure you. But I worry. You worry about people, and I see that in a lot of advisors because they all have their stories, right? A couple getting married, she's pregnant. They said, we're really busy this week. Let's talk next week. And at 28 years old, he died on the weekend from a heart defect he didn't know he had. So you get worried about people procrastinating, because then you feel responsible. I should have told them, if you know you want it, get it now. Don't procrastinate, because we see the things that happen. So I think that's the biggest misconception. You do have to find somebody you like and trust, and you're certainly entitled to interview people, make sure they're a good fit, but then open up and let them take a look at your situation and maybe give you some good advice. Whether you put anything in place or not, at least you know what you need, and if you can't afford it, then maybe down the road. But I wish people would open themselves up more just to having a conversation and not feel fearful that they're going to be hounded in any way.
I really love that you pointed that out, because some of the best business people are persistent. So does that make them, should we view them in a light of harassment and annoyance because they got good by being persistent? Mm-hmm. And I think you just really opened up, my mind. You just, you put it so succinctly, so easy to understand that maybe they're just passionate about it. Maybe they just care that much about their job that if there was an interest there, if your values did align and there was holes in your plan that they could fill, maybe they just don't want to see you not reaping the benefits of having that. because a lot of salespeople are taught to follow up again and again and again. And I would say that the lower quality salespeople who aren't convicted, who aren't passionate, are the ones you won't hear from the most. It's the ones who really do care about their work. And yeah, it's easy to take that as this person just wants the next sale. I think we're pretty good at reading the room a bit. You can tell by the person's voice on the phone if they want the next sale, but don't discard all the people for following up and being persistent as just greedy salespeople. Maybe they really do want to help you. And certainly the best business people, I have some great mentors in my life that have changed the trajectory. I dropped the ball a lot on following up with them. I try not to drop the ball with my clients at all. Those people I follow up with a lot, but I am the client to the mentor. And sometimes I put her off a little bit. And I know she's passionate about my success and me reaching my goals. So I wouldn't consider her as some money hungry salesperson. So no one's ever put it in the way that you just put it before. And I won't forget that. That was a really good point. Pivoting a bit from business, Leigh, we like to ask the guests on the show about themselves. We want to get to know you and what you do outside of business, as business is a facet of life, but just that. It's just a facet. It's not everything. So we like to ask the guests what you get up to for fun. The most common answer is, well, I love my work and it's really fun. There's more things to life outside of work. So what puts a smile on Leigh's face outside of helping people with their money?
Well, I am a bit of a homebody. I live out in the country in a house I grew up in, bought it off my parents 30 years ago. My children went to the same public school I did. I love that. I love roots. I don't like a lot of change. Sure. And I also have a few animals out here. So I have some Nigerian dwarf goats and chickens and dogs and cats. And I'm happy to be at home. We all go out for a big walk every day, and just puttering around out here is. I also enjoy fishing and camping and reading, but being at home is fun for me. I don't have any grandchildren yet, so maybe I'll get more active after that. But for now, I like hanging out here.
I love it. There is something about our sanctuary that is our home, right? Not everybody looks at their home that way. So if you do feel that way, I think that's a rare place to be. And I'm glad you feel that way. Now, I'm a big reader. There's a little taste of the books behind me. So I want to ask you, any recommendations? Is it fiction, nonfiction? What are you getting into for books?
I'm a lot along the lines of like John Grisham, Stephen King. I'm a Stephen King nut. So I love forensic books or anything where the author at least had to do some research and might impart some wisdom to me. It's like watching a movie based on a true story. At least you feel like you're learning something at the same time. So
you get that thrill, you get a bit of that entertainment, the blood pressure goes up a little bit and you learn something. Yeah, I think that's a great combination. So another question that we really like to highlight on this show is, in my life, this is absolutely true. For me, I do addiction counseling on the weekend at the wonderful place called Cornerstone Recovery in Barrie and Newmarket. That's my way of giving back to the community and learning more about humans through psychology and counseling, learning more about myself. But we have a lot of hard conversations there. They're all hard conversations. I mean, we're dealing with the challenges of life. And one of the things that we teach there is to not be ashamed that you're going through these pitfalls. We all go through them. I have not met a single person that says from I was a child to now I'm 50, everything has gone my way this entire time and I've been successful. No, being a human is tough and it's a roller coaster sometimes. And we do fall and scrape our knees and we get back up again. So it's really, we have those hard conversations on the weekend because I think we need to confront our challenges in life and view them as an opportunity. How can I get better from this? I think through discomfort, we can find growth. I don't think we grow in really comfortable, easy situations. That's why we have testing in school, same in sports. So I still find that a good portion of the public out there hides these hardships. They don't want to tell you that they failed at business or that they failed in a relationship because they're afraid of ridicule or judgment, maybe ashamed about it. When I look at our hardships as almost like a badge of honor, I made it through this hard thing. At the very least, I survived, and maybe I got better from it. So we want to highlight the doing hard things on the show because I think we can find out what we're capable of through those challenges. We like to ask the guests on the show, any hardships, trials, and tribulations that you've been through that when you went through it, probably sucked in the moment, as our body lets us know very clearly when we're going through a hard thing through senses of discomfort. But when you look back in hindsight, you wouldn't remove that experience from your life because it was an integral part to you enjoying your life as you do now. Anything come to mind?
Oh, yeah. So like I said, when I first became self-employed, my kids were really young and there was a hard few years. I mean, times I wasn't sure how I was going to feed them. And their father wasn't in the picture at the time. And knowing the hard times and then getting the good times, I find uniquely positions me with clients because sometimes people are embarrassed, right? I can't make my payment this month, or can we get this cheaper, or, and I like to let them know, hey, been there, done that. I respect. I don't think everybody can just afford the best thing out there and say, well, you're going to need to spend $200 a month. I try and tell people I will find a $20 a month solution for anybody, and will I make money? No, but I'm going to help keep you some kind of protection, and down the road, right? You're going to be on your feet one day. You're going to get through this. And we'll upgrade it at the time. But so I think people like to know that you've lived a little life and you've been there too. And there's no shame in having been poor or struggling financially. And if they're struggling financially now, then okay, well, let's not talk about getting any products. Let's look at your budget. And if I can make it better, I will, right? If I can get you on your feet, I will. But so I think people understand that. I also I find people who don't say they don't believe in life insurance have never had a loss. Maybe they're only in 30 and they haven't really lost anybody. I think my life has guided me to be this person. I lost my brother when he was 22 in a car accident. I saw the devastation to my parents financially and emotionally. Bought my first life insurance policy when I was 17 to ensure if I died, it wouldn't happen to them. I lost my best friend to cancer at 28. She had a 9-month-old and 2 5-year-old boys. Didn't have anything in place. So I know loss. I've seen a lot of loss, and that's sometimes where you worry about people. Don't think it can't happen, because it can. Although I don't like to be that morbid person that, but I like to be very practical. You never know. So, life insurance is really cheap when you're young. So, or illness insurance or disability, just plan for the events you can't control.
I think that's such a, you said, I don't want to be morbid, but that is reality. And if we avoid reality because it's this dark shadow or it's in our closet, I keep it there, hold the door. Those are the things that can burn us the most. But I want to ask you, dialing back into your experience when you had 2 kids, you were on your own, you're starting your own business. Can you give us some main takeaways of lessons you learned from that period? Because it seems like those were integral to you getting to where you are now. And all the loss that you have felt, like losing your brother at that early of an age, that's not common or less common. That's something that most 17-year-olds probably don't have to deal with. And then losing your friend at 29 to cancer, again, super young. I had my closest friend at 16, brain cancer. That was super rare, but it taught me things. So I'd love to ask, from your side of life and through your perspective, what were some key takeaways that you maybe learned about yourself or humans or the world through those hard experiences?
I would say for the losses in my life, even losing my friend at 28 and staying with her while, at the end, that's a very, as you would know, profound experience to be with somebody when they're dying and to know how to talk to them and what to say. And you're so scared to go in the room. What do you say? She was amazing. She made it easy, but I've been through it a few times since then, my parents, losing both my parents. And I think it made me so much better for people, able to talk easy with them and be there for them and play music in the room and be funny and not think it, I think it just made me a better person, and it certainly made me a better advisor because I'm under no illusions about things that can happen, and so I can encourage people to get a will or get something done because especially for the people who I find people who've experienced loss feel very strongly, lost their dad young and life was hard after that, or they want lots of protection, but so I think it just makes me more empathetic and more realistic and just better for my own loved ones or even clients, right? Who come in and say they have terminal cancer, and I don't get awkward about the conversation. And that's mostly what they want. I find they just want people to keep treating them normal. But our first instinct is to go, oh, I don't know what to say. That's awful, kind of thing. But so it makes me more comfortable that way for sure.
Super insightful takeaways that are, I think, just valuable to our human experience. It's amazing from my perspective. And then you reinforced it by sharing from yours, the wealth of knowledge and wisdom that we gather through our experiences of loss and hardship. And that's why we talk about them on the show. No one has come on here and said, those hardships made me a worse person. I didn't learn something from that. I didn't become better from that. I don't want people to go through these things, but it is amazing that it was almost like we were designed like a tree. A tree grows from being pushed on by the wind, by the rain. If you put a plant in a perfect environment where everything is perfect, the pH, the nutrients, and then you put it outside, it's probably not going to survive. We see the same thing with animals. So there is this anti-fragility about us humans. When stress pushes up against us, to a certain extent, we become better from that stressor in some sense. So I really appreciate you sharing that with us. And there's a part of me that wants to say I'm sorry for your loss to everybody that I talked to. But then there's another part that after you sharing what you just said, that value that you derived from it, I don't know what to say anymore at this point, because I want people to grow, and I know that hardship helps people grow. I also don't want them to feel so much loss. So I'll just say thank you for sharing that.
No problem.
When it goes back to business, if you could distill all of your nearly 4 decades into one super valuable thing to our audience that you would want them to know about your particular business working with you, what is one thing you wish our audience knew about working with you in particular?
I would like them to know that I'm somebody that they can trust. That I come with a lot of knowledge and experience, and I only ever talk to people in order to provide them the best advice available, and that as a CFP, I have a fiduciary responsibility to them to make sure they're getting the best advice from me, and just to have a conversation. I would love for, whether it's for your kids because they're getting out of school now or just getting their first job, tell them to have a conversation with me. So I can give them some tips to ward off, like you said, you got these college kids, they were handing out credit cards for free. And then all these college kids have destroyed their credit within months because nobody ever talked to them about, people had parents like you did who were maybe in financials. Of course, we're all over their kids about how easy it is to ruin your credit. But so many of these kids maybe don't have parents from the industry, so they didn't get taught. I speak at group homes, or like I just did a talk at Morton House, right? Talking about how do you set yourself up for the future. And for people at any age, don't be afraid to sit down and have the conversation. Just check out your situation, see how you're doing, make sure your money's going to the highest and best use. Or, I have people say, I make good money. I just kind of, I don't think I'm doing with it what I should. I think I could be saving better, and I don't know what I'm supposed to save in. And most of us, unfortunately, we can live our lives by design, which is we have a plan. We know I want to save this much a month here, and I should set this up, and I should set this up. But the rest of the people live it by default and just kind of get through every day. But the people who live it by design will end up with it meeting their goals, whether it's to buy a home or buy their first car or retire comfortably. Put a plan together. It's not like I said to people, if I give you suggestions, hey, if we consolidate this, I can free up $500 a month. Would you put $300 a month in an RSP? You won't feel it. What do you think? I'm not there to make them do it or tell them they have to. I'm just to show them how the possibilities, and maybe teach them about things they're not aware of. So yeah, just have a conversation sooner rather than later. And whether you do anything with that information or not, educate yourself.
What I have taken away so much from this conversation is your passion for educating people. Mm-hmm. The impact that it has on their lives. Have that conversation with you. Let me teach you a few things. You don't have to take my advice and run with it. You can, but start with a conversation, learn a few things, and maybe this can really change your situation, which is the people that we try to reach out on this show for. Mm-hmm. We're really trying to impact the lives of Simcoe County and York Region as well, but more of our focus is in Simcoe, which is where your work is. Yes?
Yep.
Yeah. So, and through education, just letting people know that we care, we live here, we work here. And often it just starts with that conversation. Let me teach you a few things, and maybe that's the end of it. And that's mm-hmm. fine. But maybe that seed grows a little bit into something else. Mm-hmm. The question that I leave out of the questionnaire, because I don't want people to script it, is one of the things that I study most in life. I said earlier, I don't know if it was with you or with somebody else, I say a lot of the same things to a lot of the same people, but I think I said I'm very curious in humans and human potential. And I think impact and purpose line up with humans and their potential. You just talked about it. I love the way you put it, a life of design or a life of default. When mm-hmm. we talk about humans that have a life that's built on design, they likely are thinking about their impact as a human, their purpose, their values, mm-hmm. What is meaningful to them. So I talk about mentors quite a bit on the show as well. I've been very lucky to bump up against mentors at an early age and get connected with them. And now I seek them out on a pretty good scale. I think behind every excellent person is an excellent teacher. But she taught me in my 20s to think about my impact as a human. Reflect on your life up to this point, as I had not at that point, 21, 22. Think about your impact. Is it something you're proud of, something you regret, something you're shameful of? And then gather that information, do with it what you will. Think about your impact as each day. What do you want your impact to be for today? Because you may not be here tomorrow, like you've talked about a couple times on the show. You don't know. So much of it is out of our control. We cannot control how much time we get. We can really only control what we do with that time. So what do you want to do each day in regards to your impact as a human? And then for however long you are here, what would you like to see your impact be? So essentially, I'm born, I die. What is my impact on this planet? Net positive, net negative, and different. So I like to ask the guests on the show. And this mm-hmm. could be legacy, although I don't think about legacy too much because I'll be gone then.
Yeah.
What am I doing now that can impact people the way I want to impact people? So I would like to ask you, Leigh, what would you like your impact to be?
Well, I'm very fortunate to be in the job I am, because every day I can impact people. If I'm handing a check over to, for $100,000 to somebody who got cancer, I feel relieved that they took my advice and got the policy, because they don't know how they would have got through it otherwise. So I have two sides. I have my work side and my personal side. So being impactful was to try and raise the best kids I could so that they would then take jobs that help people and they both have. They're both good, kind people, and always want to help. And the other half is in my job that I can impact people. I have people that'll come back to me and say, they left their job and went to the bank because of me, because they saw how much I loved doing that stuff. Or maybe I got them to put something in place that later saved their family, so I feel I can have big impacts that way, just by advising people the best I can and helping them get there. If that's what they want, I can change how their life goes or how they retire, or if there's a tragedy, I can make sure the family gets through it. And that's very gratifying for me. You don't like anything to happen to your clients, but you feel good about handing out the check to their families and or helping them achieve a goal of buying a house, or and so yeah, if I can just keep making that kind of impact, and I'll be happy.
It's so great to hear how many people are so committed to helping other people. I thought that when I started asking this question a while back, that we would get a variety of different answers. And yes, there is a bit of variety there, but it usually is, I just want to be a good human. I want to help as many people as I can. I want to raise good kids. And I think, from as much as I've looked into impact, as many books as I've read about it, as much as I've been taught about it, that seems to be, I can't think of a more effective way to go at it. If you really want to leave the world better than you found it, just being a good person, thinking about how you can affect other people rather than what you can take, what you can give. I think that is making the world a better place. And I think that's a pretty high enough order for all of us. So I love that you put it that way. Leigh, what is the best way for people to connect with you if they want to reach out?
They can email me. Sun Life does provide, I'm on Facebook. They can message me there. They can search on the Sun Life site. They can email me at leigh.recker@sunlife.com. I won't give the phone number because it has an extension and I'm just going to go, but you can just Google me. I'll be there. There will be a way to reach out. There is no fee or obligation if somebody just wants to put together a retirement plan or a financial plan, or just have a conversation. There's no cost to that for them or anything like that. I'm just happy to meet them, and it's fun to help if I'm able. So
beautiful. Reach out to Leigh Recker on Google or Facebook. And for me, it was a pleasure speaking to you, Leigh. I always try to if I'm going to sit down with somebody, I try to derive as much value out of the conversation as I can. Certainly try to enjoy it, get interested, get curious, but I try to learn something. And you certainly taught me a lot today. But one of the main things, because I try to live my life this way, and hearing it from you, different life experience, you want to live by design or live by default. That's going to be one of the things that sticks with me for a long time, I believe. So great pleasure having you on the show, Leigh. This is great talking to you.
Thank you very much, Jeff. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. You have a great day.
You too.
Thank you for listening to the Good Neighbor Podcast Midhurst. To nominate your favorite local businesses to be featured on the show, go to gnpmidhurst.com. That's gnpmidhurst.com, or call 705-413-3775.